I'm the high guy. From Bed-Stuy, putting the swelling on your eye. Your nose even. When I choke you, you stop breathing. When police come, I'm leaving. Peace and love.
Shakur was shot 4 times after leaving the Mike Tyson boxing match in Las Vegas in a car driven by Marion Suge Knight, head of his label, Death Row Records.
Wallace, also known as Biggie Smalls, was shot from a passing vehicle. He had been named Rap Artist of the Year at the Billboard Awards in 1995. He was considered a rival of West Coast rapper Tupac Shakur, who was fatally shot in September in Las Vegas.
Throughout the decades, millions of hip-hop fans have debated between who was the person responsible for starting the entire East Coast-West Coast war back in the 1990s that found both Tupac and Biggie in the center of an outrageous beef that would unfortunately cost them their lives. Many people believe that Tupac was responsible for starting the entire hip-hop war, but in this video, I will explore why Biggie may have actually been the one responsible for starting the entire beef. On November 30th, 1994, Tupac and his entourage were making their way to Quad Studios in Times Square, New York, where they would ultimately wind up getting robbed, and Tupac would end up getting shot a total of 5 times. This entire situation frustrated Tupac, because up until that point, he really believed that a man from his own race would never shoot him. And where did this happen? In the same exact studio where Biggie Smalls and his entire Junior Mafia clique would always record their songs. They were there on that same night. This would eventually lead to Tupac no longer wanting anything to do with Biggie Smalls and everyone who was around him. Tupac wanted Biggie to give him a straight answer about what had happened to him at Quad Studios while he was in prison. But while he was locked up behind bars, Biggie Smalls never cared to visit him or give him a call to explain what had happened to him. The inmates who were with Tupac in prison knew exactly who was behind the entire robbery, and Tupac felt like Biggie Smalls could have very easily prevented this entire situation if he had just contacted him.
But he told me, like, about a week before I got shot, he knew the nigga that was shot me, and he was like, Pop, don't hang around this nigga, you know, we walked in with the nigga that shot me, that ended up shooting me. He's like, Pop, don't fuck with this nigga, because I knew the nigga too, he was my co-defendant. And I was like, what you mean? He's like, I'll talk to you about it later, and we didn't talk. The next time I saw him was at the studio where I got shot. So I knew he knew what happened. So I was like, Biggie, what happened? He kept sending me messages like a bitch, you know, like, I'ma come see you. No, nigga, what happened? While I'm in jail, strangers is telling me, yo, you don't know? Biggie homeboy shot you. Cause they bragging, they telling they niggas in jail, yo, we just got popped, woo, woo, woo. And my cousin was in jail in New York, cause I got family out there. He's sitting right there while the niggas get in the car going, yo, my homeboys just jacked that nigga Tupac.
You can only imagine sitting behind bars, serving a sentence that could have been reduced if you had just avoided being around the wrong crowd and around the wrong people. Tupac was wrongfully accused of raping a woman. Although the police never found any evidence against Tupac in the hotel room, they did find a number of illegal firearms. These illegal firearms belonged to none other than Biggie Smalls and his entire Junior Mafia clique, who were in Tupac's hotel room days prior to the entire situation that occurred with the female who accused Tupac of raping her. Even when the illegal firearm charges were thrown towards Tupac, he still kept his lips sealed and never said a word against Biggie Smalls. He never said anything against Biggie, even when reporters were asking him about it to his face.
I can't, you know, I don't know who owns the gun.
How old are you, 23?
23.
So you feel that your career is...
Yeah, it is. Why would I own a gun? I've registered guns, you know what I'm saying? I'm a legal owner of guns.
In California.
California. So I came to New York and wanted to be an illegal gun runner now. You know, that's what they want you to believe. I want to start erasing... What? Come on, man.
Biggie Smalls, on the other hand, never stood up and took the blame for those illegal firearms, and it's obvious that there definitely must have already been tensions between Tupac and everyone else who was surrounding Biggie, which is probably why he felt like they were trying to set him up prior to arriving to the recording studio. With everything that had already happened to Tupac, he had no choice but to keep his mouth silent about the entire illegal gun situation that was linked to Biggie Smalls. If Biggie had at least taken the blame, there's a high possibility that Tupac's sentence in prison could have been reduced, but instead of taking the blame, Biggie Smalls went on to live a luxurious life after deciding to release his first album titled Ready to Die. This clearly didn't sit well with Tupac. Tupac helped the Biggie Smalls start his music career and helped him get on multiple stages in his early years as an MC. And what made Tupac even more frustrated was when he heard "Who Shot You" being played in prison by the inmates. If you pay very close attention to the lyrics, you can clearly tell that the song is describing someone with a lot of money getting shot and robbed from the jewelry. And what's even more shocking is the fact that immediately after the shooting, Biggie Smalls was spotted with the same exact jewelry and Versace rings that were given exclusively to Tupac by Gianni Versace himself. And if you look closely, you can clearly tell that they are the same exact rings. Biggie was photographed wearing these rings months after Tupac was robbed at Quad Studios. With all of this damage that had already been done, Tupac knew that there was absolutely no way he was going to stay in prison for too long, especially after reading magazines that repeatedly highlighted Biggie Smalls as being the king of New York. Tupac felt like Biggie Smalls just didn't embody those characteristics, and he felt like the best transition for him to reinvent himself was to go to his home in the state of California. And the only person offering him a ticket out was none other than Suge Knight, the head of Death Row Recording Studios himself. What many people think that Tupac did after he was released from prison was start outlining a plan of attack against Biggie Smalls and the rest of the East Coast, but all of his attention and energy had actually gone into his new album, All Eyes on Me, which became the first double rap album in history and the highest selling album in 1996. Now, here's where the beef actually started and why I personally believe Biggie Smalls insinuated it. In late 1995, when Tupac was busy recording his album in California, Snoop Dogg and his entourage were all in Times Square preparing to shoot a music video. Funkmaster Flex was live on the radio speaking about their visit, and someone unexpectedly made a call that morning. It was Biggie Smalls. Biggie Smalls had said, and I quote in his own words, "Listen up, New York. Tupac, Snoop Dogg, and the Dog Pound are down in Times Square shooting a music video right now. Brooklyn, stand up." This was a clear and direct message from Biggie Smalls, telling all of Brooklyn and New York to fire shots at Tupac. But here's what's very interesting. At the time that the shooting happened, Tupac was fresh out of jail and still had not said anything against Biggie. The entire Faith Evans situation hadn't happened yet, and the classic diss titled "Hit 'Em Up" from Tupac still had not been recorded, and all of this literally happened 9 months before that song was even released. So it's clear, judging by the actions Biggie Smalls made, it's clear as day that he really wanted to harm Tupac. Over the years, millions of hip-hop fans have already made Tupac the main villain of this entire beef, but they never speak about any of the actions that Biggie Smalls decided to make towards him. And as we already know, none of this sat well with Tupac, because if he had decided to go shoot that music video with a Dog Pound, he could have very easily been caught in the crossfire. As for the hip-hop fans who are still in denial, listen to Snoop Dogg tell Andrew Martinez about this entire situation in his own words.
I don't really have too many enemies or too many people that I dislike.
Which is interesting because didn't they shoot at you at the Dog Pound video in New York?
Biggie called the shot.
Allegedly.
No, he did.
Allegedly.
He did.
Okay.
I heard it with my own 2 ears. I got a great memory. My is splendid.
Allegedly.
He did. We went to go see Funkmaster Flex early that day, and he shined on us. We was going up to the radio station to do this. Yo, New York, DPG, we here shooting a video. We need all you New York rappers to come with us, because we love y'all. We shooting a video at Times Square. We shooting at Red Hook. Come get down with us. That's what we was coming to do. But Funkmaster Flex, he wouldn't let us in.
So then you guys head to the video shoot, and Biggie calls the station and went on the air.
Right. He said it's a Tupac Dog Pound video in Red Hook, Brooklyn. Brooklyn, stand up. Brooklyn, stand up. Stand up. What that mean? This gangster that nobody even repeat. See, what he thought Tupac was at the video.
You would think that Biggie Smalls, someone who was there when Tupac was shot 5 times back in Quad Studios, so no want any more damage to be done to someone who helped him in his early days of his career. But it's clear by his actions that he didn't actually care about Tupac or anything that happened to him, and that he clearly was the one who wanted there to be a beef. Had it not been for this entire situation, Tupac may have never slandered Faith Evans in his diss song towards Biggie, or had released any disses towards multiple New York rappers who were teaming up with Biggie Smalls and the rest of the Junior Mafia clique. This is exactly why he went all the way out to the East Coast with his Death Row East camp and was planning on releasing a One Nation album.
But if you believe in God, believe in Death Row East. We plan to take the same strategy we use with Death Row West, which is mind over matter, taking all our weaknesses and making it into our strengths. We know that we got strength in numbers. We already run the streets out here. So now we just gonna help some of these brothers get their money on because we know they got talent. We got the ways to make them use their talent to the maximum effect.
The media wanted to paint an entire coast-to-coast war going on in hip-hop, but it's clear as day that one of them called shots first and was responsible for fueling the amount of frustration that Tupac was carrying with him.
But when it all go down, don't look at me and Biggie and be like, why is there a big East Coast, West Coast war when you're shooting this to 300 homes, 300 countries, telling them about an East Coast, West Coast war that they would never know exists.
Despite everything that went on between the two rap legends, their music continues to be listened to by millions of hip-hop fans and their legacy continues to live on. What are your thoughts about this entire situation? Do you feel like this entire hip-hop war could have been avoided had Biggie Smalls not fired any shots first? Make sure to leave your thoughts down below and don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to stay up to speed with my latest content on music, film, and television.